Tom Clancy's XDefiant, a new powerhouse in the FPS genre, or just another Call of Duty clone? No! Ah, yes! Now that the open beta has officially closed, it's time that we do a deep dive on both the good and the bad, as well as hopefully answer some of the hard questions that you might be wondering about the newest free-to-play shooter by Ubisoft. I'm Robo Hobo, and this is my first impressions review of Tom Clancy's XDefiant. Mark Rubin, a former Infinity Ward executive producer, and a skilled team of developers have went and made what they wanted to be a modern arcade shooter. And with that goal in mind, it definitely delivers. Right away, the first thing I noticed about XDefiant is its familiar gun and movement feel. Picking up a sniper, it took 0.2 seconds before I felt like I was ready to do a distant drag sniper shot in the head, which I did. That was it. To me, it definitely does resemble that more old school Call of Duty, but kind of mixed with some Medal of Honor vibes. Definitely felt good and true to that arcade shooter feel. Although chat kept asking if this was quote unquote the Call of Duty killer, likely from countless original titles from YouTube, I'm guessing. To do such a thing, I think that the game would have to not only do a good job of separating itself from the competition, but it has to keep that core feel of what the FPS community wants. The ability/fraction system that they have does a solid job of making it feel unique, getting a core ability and an ultimate after a while, yet to its core it does feel like a lot of the same stuff that we've seen before in other titles. Yet this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it just doesn't have that one big difference that really separates itself from the pack. And having that one big thing can really make a large difference into cultivating an audience. Let's talk more about that core gameplay, starting with the maps and the graphics. 14 maps to launch. Of the ones that I've played in the beta, they looked and played pretty well. The flanks and the routes were all very thought out and they synergized well. It definitely stands out as one of the strengths in the game. The respawn system isn't perfect, often having people spawn behind you in certain game modes and scenarios. But in general, the way that the maps played are both great for competitive play and casual enjoyment. The colors of the map were very vibrant and it clearly had a good artistic style in mind, as well as functionality. The graphics of the maps and the characters are good, and it's all very easy on the eyes, and I like it a lot. So one of the most important questions in any shooter is, how are the weapons?
To be a great shooter, the gunplay has to be our top priority.
They actually seemed good. They don't have a ton of recoil. They're pretty easy to use in general. The snipers were a lot of fun. Immediately was able to pick them up and they felt just like you would want them to. All the guns felt relatively balanced for their weapon classes. Well, at least as balanced as you would expect the beta to be. The time to kill was pretty fast, with headshots being near instant kills. I felt it was very in line with the Infinity Ward time to kill, and just the way it always kind of been back in the day. It definitely shared Call of Duty's frustration to me, that at times it was kind of just who saw who first, with a very little opportunity for play-counterplay. However, maybe it's just from all the Apex I play these days. It is my personal preference that I've grown to enjoy a longer time to kill over the years, so it is true that I would have liked to see a slightly more amount of health across the board. I feel like this would not only separate it from Call of Duty, but it would actually have enhanced the nice gunfight and movement feeling that they already have going for it. It almost feels like every fight is just a moment too fast, and that extra couple bullets would have made a huge difference in my eyes. But that's more of a personal preference, and I don't really hold it against them, as that would have indeed changed the feel of it, and perhaps could have changed the arcade feeling they were going for. I'm curious on what your thoughts on the fast time to kill is these days. How is the movement in XDefiant? I like it. It feels very loose and fast. Unlike modern Call of Duties, there isn't these long unnecessary delays after everything, making aiming while moving and jumping and sliding and every kind of action that you can do feel pretty good. Even with base level equipment, you don't need a particular weapon attachment in every scenario, yet they do have weapon attachments that can enhance things. Proper movement can make a huge difference in surviving a gunfight, and it is definitely something I had a ton of room for improvement while I was playing the beta, which is very promising for the skill ceiling of the game. The fraction system that they have works well, gives them a good structure to work with going forward, and whenever they add new stuff, they're going to have a lot of options and things that they can make. The abilities are very useful, yet they do have some abilities that seem much better than the others. Exploding into fire is pretty strong, but how can you compete with turning invisible? Or the one that's basically temporary wall hacks? I'm pretty sure that with enough buffs and nerfs that you could fix anything, but can you do so without robbing the ability's fun and enjoyment? A lot of these abilities are pretty fun. I do like the way that the abilities synergize with some of the game modes, like the riot shields on Escort. I hope that they continue to add new and creative ways to play the game modes in the high tier competitive lobbies. Let's take a second and talk about hit registration. I saw a lot of people complaining about having problems with lag and hit registrations, but all in all, I wasn't having too many issues. There was certainly times that I thought that the guy had like armor or something, or like it wasn't showing me the damage, but he really was. But in reality, it was just poor detection. But in most fights, this wasn't really a factor for me. There was this issue in some random matches that was completely unplayable from the get-go, and that it was like stuttery, but I ended up just leaving and finding a new match, which played fine. When it was time to invite my friends, the community system was just completely broken for me. I couldn't invite my friend Googly to the party, which was very annoying. And if it wasn't for having an outside PS5 system to invite him for, we couldn't have played at all. Some of this can be forgiven, that it's just a beta, but it does show the peak of the current state of the netcode and the servers. The matchmaking system for XDefiant is actually something I really like. They plan to have a rank system that utilizes skill-based matchmaking and a public system that does not. This is very good to hear and a refreshing change of pace from the direction that many of the top games have been going down. Having a proper competitive scene and a proper non-competitive scene gives the game a duality in the play experience that a lot of these games have just been lacking. Really, only time will tell if the rank system and competitive scene for this game will be done properly or not, because it can be rather complex in the end, but it's definitely a promising start. Hearing what I've said about the overall game, I can say that I hear a lot of good, that's good, I kind of like this, that was alright. I wasn't wowed. I didn't think this was amazing, really, for anything. Just a lot of good, not great. A lot of almost there. A lot of this was kind of fun for a bit. Really, in an ultra competitive market as the FPS genre is, I wonder if this game has what it takes to win a considerable market share in the space. I myself don't know if I'm going to be playing it a lot after launch. I will surely do a live countdown stream for when it launches, and we're going to play it a little bit at that launch, but will this game really have the staying power, or is it just a little too much of the same? After all, I don't even really play Call of Duty much anymore, because it is a lot of the same for those very reasons. And I've kind of gravitated towards those games with the longer time to kill, with more counterplay potential that I mentioned earlier. I've been playing shooters since GoldenEye, so let me tell you, I'm ready for that change of pace. But maybe someone newer to shooters would find it refreshing to the ones currently popular. I love the fact that this game is free to play. I'm sick of being burnt just to try out a game, so it's been really refreshing, and it is nice that they actually gave this game a real beta. They did a good job on the practice zone, a lot of good areas to practice and actually try out your different guns and see what they exactly do. Overall, I think this game's going to do a great job of kind of pulling over those people that are just a little sick of the changes Call of Duty has been making, but still are looking for that old school Call of Duty feel. If you're feeling kind of tired during your gaming session and you find yourself wanting some caffeine or an energy drink, let me suggest to you the sponsor of today's video, Glitch Energy. Over a year ago, I was looking for a healthier way to get my caffeine than some gas station energy drinks that I was drinking at the time. So I ended up switching to Glitch Energy, and I've been drinking Glitch Energy exclusively for over a year now. I find the energy that it gives me to be unmatched. And because it doesn't come with a crash like a lot of the old ones I used to drink, I no longer find myself reaching for that second energy drink shortly after. I've been very fortunate to be sponsored by Glitch, and they've given me code ROBO to give to my supporters to not only support the channel at checkout, but to save 20% on an already great price. I recommend the starter kit if you wanted to try out a bunch of flavors, or Granny's Grenades if you just wanted my favorite flavor. Thanks everyone for supporting me and the channel. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to drop a like and subscribe with that notifications on. I live stream all the time. Thanks again, everyone.